Introverted men, how did you get your partners? Story 1, I faked being an extrovert until I found out she was also faking being an extrovert. Then we both reverted to being introverts and enjoyed hiding from the world together. Story 2, pretty sure it was a conspiracy of at least half the people we worked with at the time. Around Christmas, I was told by a manager I won a raffle for 2 free games of bowling while she was standing nearby. Another coworker looked at the two of us and said, "Hey, you two should go together," loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. I looked at her and simply said, "Wanna?" She said, "Sure, we'll be married 13 years come November." Story 3, I asked a coworker out. She turned me down. So I asked her if she knew anyone. She said she had work on it. 6 weeks later, she set me up with my now wife of 41 years. Story 4, she dropped my glasses in a river while trying to see how blind I was. I was supposed to be the designated driver after a float down the river, but that turned into 5 happy years of marriage. Been married for 7, but for the just first 2 years, I was still upset about the glasses. Story 5, my husband met me because we were at a party and he was chilling out by himself. I drunkenly approached him, told him we would be heading out afterwards to continue the party, and he was coming with me. Barely said a word in response now. It's 10 years later, and he still really hasn't gotten a word in. Sorry, honey, I know I talk a lot. Story 6, at work, after school, she used to do things to intentionally annoy me, to the point where I'd get angry about it. Would even argue sometimes, until one day we were forced to work together by our manager. Then I realized she was going out of her way to tapping me on the shoulders or grab me by my forearm when she needed to ask me something. So, out of annoyance, I rhetorically asked her if she liked touching me. To my surprise, she blushed, and at that moment, it was as if everything clicked. I thought we weren't getting along, but the whole time she was just trying to get my attention by any means necessary, so I just asked for her number. The rest was history. Fast forward, we have 3 kids together. We'll be celebrating 14 years of marriage next February and 19 years of being together this November. Story 7 was playing an MMORPG. Woman in the guild said something about needing a date to a wedding. I joked I looked good in a suit. She invited me for coffee after realizing we live 60 kilometers apart. Married for 8 years and going strong. Story 8, I was asleep in bed and got a phone call 11:00 p.m. on a Sunday night from my best friend. He and his wife ran into the sister of one of his childhood friends, and they were hanging out, and he asked me to come by to meet her. I only went over because their apartment was a 5-minute walk away, and I didn't want to get hassled by him for not coming over the next time I saw him. That was 33 years ago. Story 9, I'm not the man, but my husband, who is still extremely introverted and quiet, was the co-worker who was selected to train me at work. They chose him because they thought he wouldn't be interested in me. Little did they know we hooked up after 2 weeks. I asked him out initially, and he says that it shocked him that I would even consider him when, in fact, he's the type that I thought I'd never have a chance with. Nothing is impossible. Story 10, wife, and I met on Bumble. She's also introverted. We both have people jobs that force us to be extroverted for 8 hours a day. We bonded over our love of the slow life outside of work and our mutual interests. We both also had long-term commitment in mind when we were looking for partners rather than playing the dating game. We were both looking for the same thing, love, where we hadn't found it previously, a partner, not just a boyfriend-girlfriend, and someone that makes us want to be the best version of ourselves. Story 11, we've been together nearly 20 years now. There are 2 things that helped. 1, she doesn't take energy to be around. It's just easier with her, even during conflict. 2, the idea of missing out on being with her was worse than the fear that she might say no. No regrets. Story 12, I cornered her in an alleyway and asked for her number. Frightened, she allowed me to take it from her. I deliciously typed her digits into my phone as she shakily disclosed them to me. My greasy hands typing away with absolute glee on my face. In that silent night, I secured what was to be my most delicious victory. Yes, I got her number. Yet as she walked away, I could see her crying, tears of joy perhaps. No matter, I will call her soon. Unfortunately, the calls were answered by the police. In a shared cell I now write, my partner with me always, he is smelly, and he is frightening. Not what I had in mind. Story 13, a girl at a coffee shop. Yeah, the Dutch version where you can buy and smoke pod. Overheard me chatting with a friend about computers. Yeah, I'm in IT. We and she were regulars there, but never really talked to each other. She came up to us and asked me to fix her PC. Well, it turned out it wasn't her PC that needed fixing. Now married for 17 years. Story 14, genuinely being myself. Being introverted doesn't necessarily mean I'm shy or lack confidence. I simply went up to her and talked a bit, then asked for her number. My social battery gets drained way away too quickly when I'm out, though. But anything stimulating, engaging can keep me charged. I try to respect both aspects, but I definitely lean towards being a homebody. Story 15, went on a group holiday with friends. Spent the week scuba diving, and drinking helps remove introversion. After the holiday, she dropped me off at home. Because she has a car, I own a motorbike, so couldn't carry everything. She invited herself in for a beer and never left. Help me. I have a 13-year-old son now. Story 16, Tinder. Found me another introvert. Been together 6 years now. She likes to go out and do stuff with her friends, but she's also fine spending a weekend at the house reading a book while I play video games. Next is getting her a gaming PC, so we can have a his and hers desk. Story 17. We met while we were both students at university. I wasn't actually looking for a partner, to be honest, but I enjoyed being around her. She was very much an extrovert. So she made the first move to break the ice. After a few weeks, I asked her out. 12 years later, we're married with 2 kids. I'm super thankful that she made the first move. I was attracted to her almost as soon as I saw her, but not sure if I ever would have gone out of my way to approach her like 1 or 2 people have mentioned here. Introverted doesn't automatically mean shy. I was just comfortable with my own company and never really had much of a reason to grow my friendship circle. But my life would have been absolutely without her. Story 18, I can flip a mental switch and become very extroverted. Doing so takes a ton of energy, and I can only do it for short bursts, and then need to retreat to recharge. It helped me find a partner, has helped me with many other relationships, and helped me in my career. Story 19, introvert, doesn't mean I'm terrified to talk to people. It means that large social gatherings with tons of people can be tiring, and I need a plan for those. I have always been able to talk to women. I just don't want to do it at a crowded bar. I don't spend my life in a cave. Story 20, in a 30-person class with 60 chairs. I sat all the way in the back as an introvert, of course. Wasn't expecting anyone to talk to me, but my wife was sitting in the front of the class and came to borrow a pencil. We've been together for almost 20 years now. Story 21, work. Had been working at the same place for months and had only noticed her out of my peripheral in passing. One day, walking through the break room to go outside to smoke, I noticed her sitting at a table on her phone, minding her own business. It was like a halo was around her, and I knew at that moment she would be my wife. We'll be married 13 years next month. Story 22, I ordered her online. It required a lot of effort to get things working once she arrived, but I was willing to stick it out. She's kind of high maintenance and doesn't do a lot around the house, but we make it work. It took a while before we were able to share a bed, but we're madly in love now. And she shares the bed with me instead of living in the closet like when she first got here. My blow-up doll's name is Gertrude, or Gertie for short. Story 23, college. My friend and I were walking to our hangout spot between classes. Another class was let out, and she walked in front of us. My friend brought a football soccer to university to kick around that day. When she was in front of us, he thought he recognized her from their high school as they were acquaintances in grade school. He decided to toss the ball at her back. She turned around WTF, and they started chatting. He eventually invited her to our spot, as she didn't have any friends there and was looking for a place to sit study. We start talking. I asked her out on a date. Time goes on, and here we are 9 years later, 1 house later, and 2 dogs later. Story 24, met her. Let my thoughts known initially itself, but remained as friends for 6 months. Once she understood that we are compatible, we dated for about 9 years. Now my wife for 5 years. Story 25, my sister's friend set me up with her niece. 2 awkward shootings that so far seem to be perfect for each other. Last partner was a friend of my friend's wife. I much prefer meeting someone through connections rather than going out to places I don't enjoy. Story 26, my partner is introverted. We met through friends on a camping trip and drove back together. We were friends for many months before we finally fell for each other. His attention to detail and ability to remember things I said are what made me see him differently, along with his generosity, intelligence, compassion, and humor. Remember that introverted doesn't mean poor social skills. It means you can't socialize as often as extroverts because it costs you. I'm an introvert and maintain many friendships, but not the way extroverts do. I love socializing with my friends. I just get drained afterwards. Even good interactions require time to process and recover from. It's okay and even advisable to research and practice social skills in a conscious manner. Not everyone comes by them naturally, and there's nothing wrong with learning as an adult. I've spent many years to hone mine of super neurospacey and can be a bit off-putting at times. Learning about human communication and relationships helped me to make and maintain the relationships I have now. Story 27, currently single, but my last relationship started like this. A friend reached out and asked me if I wanted to take dancing lessons because they needed more guys in the class. At first, I wasn't sure and not really in the mood to do it, but that friend was very persistent, so I agreed to try it once. I liked it, and so I stayed in the class. We had to change partners for every dance in the beginning. It was just one of the rules to get us used to different people and to learn how to lead the dance, or for the girls, how to follow the lead of different people. I really liked dancing with that one girl, And whenever we had to change partners, we tried to dance together. And sometimes we didn't switch around. I think the instructors noticed. But at that point in the class, they cared less about that. When the instructors finally announced that we should form pairings, she just stood next to me and said, "It'll keep you." 3 months later, we were a couple. We lasted about 5 years. Story 28. Well, I started working on being able to be extrovert when needed. 1. Was already fit from the gym. 2. Hypnotherapy and NLP to get rid of subconscious fears that were making me afraid of connecting with potential partners. 3. Change the way I dress to always look good. Go to Toastmasters to get comfortable with speaking in public. Eventually, all of that gave me the results I was looking for. Story 29. I lucked out. I'm older, so I've known my wife since birth. Our great-grandmothers immigrated from Portugal together. They each had girls who became best friends, and those were our grandmothers. They each had girls who became best friends, our mothers. My mom had a boy. My wife's mother had a girl. We became best friends, and then puberty hit. We have 3 kids now and have been together for 15 years. She's extremely extroverted, and I'm extremely introverted. My friends are her, and my children. Her friends are every person we've ever met. But her strengths are my weakness, and my strengths are her weaknesses. She's the yin to my yang. Story 30. I hit on the bartender. Married 9 years now. Together for 12. They say just because she serves you and she's nice to you doesn't mean she's interested. While that may be true, sometimes speaking up pays off. Story 31. Answering for my introverted husband. Well, he took his daughter out to go shopping at the mall. Walked into the store I was working in. His daughter walked off with the grandmother, and I asked him if he needed any help. His mouth opened, but no words came out. It was a little awkward and a little funny. Eventually the words came out, and he left. I remember telling my coworkers if I ever saw that hot dad again that I was going to get his number. Side note, I was also a single mom. Within the same hour, he returned to the store to buy a beanie. I inside on ringing him up just so I could ask for his number. I saw his wrist and got excited. He had an Ouroboros tattooed on like a bracelet. I had planned to get an Ouroboros tattooed as a bracelet too. So I broke the ice and told him he stole my idea. He was so shocked that I even knew what it was and then asked for my number. He called immediately after LOL. When he tells the story, he mentions after leaving the first time that a song started playing in the mall, and it was like a push for him to go back to me. But he was embarrassed about his shoes, which to this day, I don't remember them. So he ran and bought a brand new pair of Vans before returning to my store. It took a while into our dating to realize we had actual cross paths a few months prior in a nightclub. I was super dressed up, makeup all done, looking like a mean goth girl. He was leaned up against the back door sipping on a beer. We had locked eye, and he rolled his eyes at me. Only reason we didn't speak sooner is because when he first saw me, I looked mean LOL, and the second time I was dressed like a hobo in comparison, so I came off less scary, I guess. Been together 9 years so far, and have 5 kids total now. Story 32. Through friends. We knew each other for about 8 months, and we realized we both enjoyed each other's company. We would sneak away from parties and go on late-night walks together. It was all close friend stuff until she had to move away. That was the moment we had to make a move, like now or never, and we did. Been together nearly 4 years and looking to move in together soon. Story 33. When we first talked, I thought she was in a relationship. Because of this, I was less nervous around her and more my normal self. After she told me, the guy who I thought was her was just a platonic friend, I was able to use the foundation of behaving normal around her to go into relationship territory. Oh, and the fact she was really into me and wouldn't stop asking to meet after school made it possible to make her my GF. Since I doubt I could pull that off again, I just married her, and now we have 2 kids together. Alcohol. Story 34. Grinder. Thought he was fake. I was bored, decided I wanted to troll a bot. Turns out he was real and hot, as no idea what I did right, but we've been together 16 years now. Story 35. We were both out of our element. I'd gone out drinking with some friends, and we ended up at this seedy bar, the kind of bar you laugh at your friends when they suggest it, but we wanted to play pool, and it was the last place open on our side of town. She, I found out later, had been drinking on a boat with her friends, and they just gotten back to town and wanted one more again. It was the only place left open. I saw her come up the stairs, and I, in a fit of drunken overconfidence, turned to my friends and said, "Watch this." It took me a solid 20 seconds to cross the room and figure out what I was going to say. I was growing my hair out at the time, and I've always had trouble with my curls. This girl, wow, talk about some hair. Merida from Brave had nothing on her. I got it right as I walked up to her and tapped her shoulder. "I'm sorry if this seems weird." She turned around a little peeved some dude was talking to her. "But I have to ask, what do you do with your hair? I'm growing mine out." And you get the point. I was thinking if I don't get her number, I'll at least walk away with some good hair advice. We sat down together and talked for the remaining 2 hours the bar was open. Her friends thought we were old friends, and mine continued the pool tournament without me. We're getting married in August. Story 36 online. Found a wonderful woman who's just as introverted as me. Lots of talking first, then a walk after a few weeks. Been together basically ever since. Story 37 wife is a certified baddie. I did the only thing natural to me as an introvert, and I admired her for 3 months while I tried to build up the courage. Finally decided enough was enough, and I decided to send it and go ask her. Wasn't my best moment because I ended up following her into a parking lot with no lights. She still said yes to a date with the creepy parking lot guy. Then we went on a date every day for the next 3 months, and now we've been married for 4 years. Story 38 my high school friend was moving out of state. When we last saw each other, I asked her for her AIM screen name. She seemed very excited to give it to me, so we were able to keep up and chit-chat through that, and it made it a lot more comfortable to me. The first chance she got to come back and visit she did, and we got a chance to see each other, and it felt so natural I didn't have to worry about me being an introvert. So having a chance to break that barrier through messaging really helped me get the courage to express myself. Ed, we have been together for almost 20 years and married for 12. Story 39, there's no easy way to go about it. There's no secret introvert calling card that states I'm single and looking. I think I identify as introverted, but I also did not want to be completely alone. I like the company of a companion, and when I started to live alone, I found it lonely. My friends had moved further away and started families, and I had no one to really fall back on. So I kind of did something really out FO character for me. I took dance lessons. I took swing dance lessons specifically. The important point of this fact is that it was a partner dance. It was kind of fun, but mostly uncomfortable, and as a man, I was in higher demand since dancing is for various culturally issues in the U.S. not considered very masculine. It was very weird to learn to dance. I was a class where most of the people were much, much older than me, definitely not dateable, and TBH, not people I would normally ever interact with if I had an opportunity, but partner dancing creates space for interacting. You're both focused on a task, so there's no pressure to talk, and eventually you even start to have fun with it. You are also touching another person's stranger, and it's platonic and positive and normal, that wasn't normal to me. To touch anyone wasn't the norm for me. It's still not normal for me to touch anyone outside my wife these days, if it's outside the context of dancing. If I want to comfort a friend when they're going through a hard time for me, to lay a hand on their shoulder is unfamiliar and layered with a whole bunch of what if this isn't okay for them, sort of stigmas. So yeah, I started swing dancing, and that led to a whole underground world of swing dancing, blues dancing, 1920s dress-up parties. Some secret community that existed underneath a very emotionally superficial and unsatisfying world. After I had taken 2 classes, I decided to go my first dance, and it was, again, uncomfortable, but I dances with some older ladies, and they were happy to have a partner. From there, I learned about other swing dances and events, and I learned about other places to take swing classes, and I was able to find people of both genders whom I gravitated towards. I learned it was okay to touch people, and I learned it was okay to be touched in the right context, of course, and that helped me just learn to be more comfortable around strangers. And I was able to just have conversations with people I did not know, but maybe I wanted to find out if they were worth knowing or not. That lead to friends, that lead to community, and for my weekends to not be spent home playing video games. I met many people during my time when I danced, and I grew more confident with myself. And at least I felt like I had things to say that was worth other people hearing. Ultimately, dancing did not lead to me finding my lifelong partner directly. I did not meet her through dance, but the experience bestowed on me enough confidence to talk to people that I did not know. So, without the whole experience and me being able to grow socially and emotionally, I doubt we would be married. Story 40, just a woman commenting after reading a bunch of entertaining comments. I prefer introverted men I can drag back to my cave. They always think I'm an extrovert. That's part of the ruse. I'm a full-time career hermit with a PhD in antisocial tendencies. If I want to sleep with someone, I make it known awkward introverts are the best. Story 41 met in college, but thought she was out of my league realistically. She was, and I still feel she is, pursued by the entire nerd group day. After my last final of my senior year, she was at a small gathering I went to, talked to her for a while about nerd stuff, set up a date for a week later. She is just as introverted as I am, and we are now married happily. Sometimes you just got to shoot your shot. Also found out that when I first met her, she was attracted to me too, but thought if we dated then it would burn out, but would be a better relationship in a few years. So she didn't pursue me then. She was right. Story 42, introverted men don't really talk. They listen and don't try and solve a women's problems. They're strong and supportive with little demands. Their love runs deep with endless devotion. Story 43, I went to a gas station and she was working there. I found myself going there more often, and as bad as I am at these things, it worked, and we have a wonderful 11-month-old daughter. Story 44, I played an instrument starting in 6th grade and was in marching band for 8 years, 4 in HS and 4 in college. That's where I met people. Clubs like that are wonderful for meeting a potential partner. I've only ever had 2 partners, first in HS, second in college, and I married the second one. If it weren't for marching band, I'm not sure where I would have met anyone. I'd have to resort to dating apps, which just seems genuinely awful. Story 45, every serious relationship Eve had, I met them at work, and one was my best friend's sister. My wife I met at work. I had a few short relationships I met online. One time in my life, I had a hookup while out for the night, and it was all her pursuing me, and definitely not the type of personality that knows how to pick up women in public. The thing about meeting women at work is they get to know you over time, and there is no pressure in getting to know each other. Story 46, same kind of way I got healthier or more skilled, recognizing that I can enjoy things even if they are work. Exercise, study, and socializing are all things that take work, can be frustrating or disappointing, but are also enjoyable and rewarding. Also, just be interested in people regardless of your attraction, without being so goal-oriented. That'll go pretty far in creating opportunities. Story 47, I printed out some extra receipt paper and wrote my number down on it when I saw her walk into the store. When her receipt printed, I slipped both in her bag. Went to help another customer, and when I turned around, she was still at the counter. She was writing her number down on a thin piece of paper and rolled it into a joint filter and said, "Let me know if you want me to finish rolling this later." Then I reached into her bag and showed her that I had just given her my number 2. We hung out that night and have been together ever since. Story 48, worked with a girl as a teenager. Met her little sister maybe once. It was like a flash in time that I barely remember. 7 or so years later, that friend randomly tries to hook me up with said sister. One awkward phone call later, nothing happens. Timing was, and I just wasn't interested in trying anything of that nature then. Thought she looked good from the FB pictures I could see at the time. But, yeah, 5 or so years after that, friend asks if I want to give it another real shot with same sister. The timing was right. And I think I realized then that this opportunity was being just handed to me, and probably would not happen again. Married with 2 children. Still introverted. Story 49, met her at a friend's birthday party. Share my food with her, and then burn my entire social battery for a week going full extrovert mode to woo her. It worked, and then I found out she's completely introverted as well. Been together 8 years this past April. Story 50, my extroverted ex-wife introduced me to the introverted ex-girlfriend of the man she cheated on me with. They were both looking to dump off their boring exes so they could hang out. Jokes on them. We both found our soulmates, and they still petty. Story 51, if I think about it, probably every man I've seriously dated is an introvert, strong, silent type sexy. There was in the City episode where Samantha hooked up with a quiet farmer guy who never spoke after they were laying there, and she said, "You're a man of few words, but they're all the right ones." Story 52, I saw the shy guy from high school walking home and literally told him to get in my car. We've been together for 13 years, married for 4, and now have our first child on the way. I guess you got to get kidnapped by a pretty extrovert. Story 53, have extroverted friends who introduce you to introverted women. That's how I met my wife, and we have been married for 19 years, happily shunning the rest of the world together. Story 54, I found hobbies that drain my social battery slower than other activities, in my case board games, and then I found groups of people to share those hobbies with. Eventually, I found someone in those groups I enjoyed spending time with that didn't drain my social battery at all. That is, someone I wouldn't mind spending the rest of my life with. Story 55, got sat next to a pretty goth girl in my college English class. Worked up the nerve to tell her she had pretty eyes. The rest is history. Been married for 13 years now. Story 56, I cultivated a Snapchat account full of only women. Committed myself to talking to all of them every day, and eventually had 250 conversations with women going on throughout the day, one of which wanted to meet in real life. And that was that. I deleted the Snapchat account and went back into introversion now, with a lady on my side. Story 57, I'm a woman, but if I may weigh in, I pulled my introvert husband via MySpace in 2007, 2 weeks of online chatting, met in person and been together 18 years, married for 15. Story 58, one day in college. I was bowling with my roommates. I was sitting at the table between games, and this lady came up to me with a cheeseburger and fries. She sat down next to me and handed me a tray with a cheeseburger and fries. She leaned in close and whispered, "Please just play along for a minute." So I did, and we pretended we were a couple for a little while. I'm introverted, so she definitely led the conversation for a bit. Then I got comfortable, and we talked for a couple of hours. Apparently, there was a guy there who had asked her for her number a couple of times and was really starting to creep her out. So I asked her why she was fine with this guy killing a total stranger to get to her. She jokingly said that I looked like someone nobody would miss, I think she was joking. She's a textbook extrovert. So I quickly realized there was a benefit to having one in my life. We'll be married for 20 years next month. She won my heart with a cheeseburger. Apparently, that's all it takes for me. Story 59, going through drive-thru at 1 a.m. with a friend. The window person had pretty eyes, commented this to my friend. When she handed us our food, he said, "Yo, my boy thinks you're hot. Why don't you give him your number?" I was surprised, she was surprised, and he just sat there leaning across me, staring at her. We've been married for 16 years. Story 60, she was an old classmate's cousin. So I added her on Facebook with the intention of inevitably snatching her off the market. We commented on each other's posts until she mentioned she was an artist, and I asked her to DM me some of her art. 2 years later, and she never saw it coming. Story 61, she was a friend, and it was COVID. That means if we wanted to see each other, we'd have to do it one-on-one at each other's places. We started drinking together, then started dating and banging. Story 62, first few, through friends, after HS, chat rooms before the comm era, where I figured out it was easier to communicate within a certain travel radius. The best result for me have been chat rooms. Story 63, met on a project during my final year of university. After the project was finished, we kept in touch, and one day, I just decided it to my self-doubts and asked her out. She said yes, and here we are 12 years later, married, have a daughter, and we're 8,000 miles away from where we met. Story 64, a good friend of mine sent a woman to pick me up and bring me to his place. We got chatting in the car and really hit it off. Here we are 27 years later with kids and a paid-off house. I found after dating her a few months that she was his ex-girlfriend that he apparently was not over yet, even though they had broken up years earlier. Story 65, I waited for her to come to my front door, knocked, had a whiteboard list of geeky stuff that were important to her, asked me if and how many of them I liked. I said all bar one. She said that was enough. She asked if I was available. We got to terms and conditions, how much I said daily or every other day. She said no every other day to everyone in 3 days. I said fine as long she's not against me, using if I'm particularly horny. She said nope as long as it was if I agreed, and we checked pets, allergies, etc. And almost everything was done. Then, embarrassingly, I was like, "Silliest, I didn't even get your name." She told me, and I didn't like it, so said I would think about it, and showed her the door. My now current partner started working where I worked. Her name was OK. So yeah, we started a thing. 9 years later, got a little boy, and happy still. Story 66, ours was an arranged marriage if you're not familiar with the concept. It is something people do in India where parents set their kids up for best matches partners. Families also meet and know what they are potentially signing up with. They do this for various reasons, such as progeny, bloodline, and blah blah. But on a psychological level, culture knew that loneliness sucks, so my husband is an extremely introverted guy. He wouldn't have spoken to me if his father didn't push him to. We know we liked each other in our first talk, but he didn't admit it. I had to get it out of the horse's mouth, or I'd be married to someone else by now. Story 67, I picked a fight on the internet. Back in the day, Craigslist had personal ads. Casual encounters was meant for 2 people and nothing serious. It ended up being where prostitutes put up ads along with thirsty guys. You also had scammers trolling those ads, sending heartfelt pleas to send money because they love you and need some cash to come live with you. So I put up an ad that was trash, something no one in their right mind would respond to, and the bots kept sending me pics, often nudes to boot, then I just a response chewing me out for my ad. So I calmly responded saying I did nothing wrong, simply asked for something specific. After a bit of back and forth, we meet up, and that's how I met my wife. Story 68, I knew her folks, not her, she knew my folks, not me. 2 families got together for Christmas dinner, and we were both in town visiting. So we met then, took a night out with her sister, and then her dad gave me a 20. It was the 80s, and we went out on NY. That was our 40th anniversary, is in 3 days. Story 69, I met a great deal of them online, including my wife. I also broke the cardinal rule of sleeping with dating coworkers. Other than that, when I was younger, I had a reputation with a circle of friends for being extremely generous in bed, and also for being discreet and not being particularly picky about partners. So my friends would talk to their friends and have potential partners approach me, without me having to do anything but live up to the hype. Story 70, I know it's not the answer you want to hear, but Bumble dating app. I actually met both my ex and my current girlfriend via dating apps, ex via Tinder, current GF via Bumble, and I'm pretty happy right now. Bumble was by far the greatest experience I've had with dating apps. Tinder is super trash, and most other are too. Using Bumble in Berlin, Germany, was pretty good for me personally. I've had used Tinder for years without anything but 2 to 3 dates. Third one was my ex. Then in fall 23, I installed Bumble and had like 10 dates until December when I met my girlfriend. I've never even had that much dates after 5 years of Tinder. Crazy. Using Tinder made me feel super worthless, but using Bumble felt really good. And no, I'm not getting paid for this.